Welcome to the show today. If you watch the show regularly or even semi-regularly, you know I'm a big Rocky fan, and I've become part of what we call the Rocky bubble, the community of people whose lives have been touched by Sylvester Stallone, Rocky, and or both. And here with me today is John Messina. I want to share his story with you. While it is largely about the inspiration of Rocky the film and the character, it can apply to anything. It can be a teacher who was your mentor, um, a mentor in your career, whatever it is. So stay tuned because there's a lot of gems in this story with John Messina. Thanks for being here.
Thanks for having me.
And it's really late where you are. So thanks for burning the midnight oil with us. You're on the East Coast, and it took us a little bit to figure out the schedule. So thanks for being here.
No, thank you. It's an honor. Thank you.
So you and I met each other through, I'm guessing, Instagram and our following of various people who are connected to the Rocky story and Sylvester Stallone's story. And like I said, while this particular encounter was because of Rocky, we're really talking about the impact that mentors or people who've inspired us can have on our lives. So tell me a little bit about yourself and how you came to find and love the story of Rocky.
Okay.
That's a big
So
question, isn't it?
yeah, you saw me take a deep breath in.
Sure.
So I've been a teacher here in New York for 20 years. I teach high school, PE, health, sports medicine. I've always wanted to mentor, the youth and help inspire in that way. Uh, I've always had interest in, inspiration, teaching, and also at the same time kind of intertwining filmmaking and acting and all that good stuff that comes along with it. Um, about 7 years ago, I decided to take the plunge and continue my teaching career, but also start to pursue acting and filmmaking as well. And it's been an incredible journey and road. And although it's not an easy one, it's a passion. It's a passion. And for me personally, it's another outlet. And the way I see it is it's another tremendous platform where you could potentially reach many more people than I could just in a classroom. Although, my students in my classroom are super important to me, they're like my own children. Um, I would love to be able to reach the masses, so to speak.
Right.
And, that's kind of what pushed me in that direction. Um,
When you think about
well,
yourself as a teacher and
mhm.
leading into how you discovered Rocky the film or what it's meant to you in your life, at what age did Rocky the character become a teacher for you? How did you discover that?
So I grew up, believe it or not, hating school. Thinking back, I don't even know what, or I could never imagine becoming a teacher. Um, but I truly hated school. I struggled very bad. I had a very, very bad learning disability. Couldn't read, couldn't write,
Wow.
and
So you're
I was,
just the fact that you became a teacher at all
yeah,
is an
yeah.
inspiration.
Just developmentally slower than most kids my age, and it took a lot of self discipline and soul searching to kind of counteract that and fight through it. But when I was 8 years old, my parents literally sat me down one Friday evening after school, after having a terrible week in school, um, and they said, "We want to show you a movie that's really, really inspiring, that inspired us, your mother and father, and we're hoping that it'll have the same effect on you." And they proceeded to show me the very first Rocky, Rocky One, and the rest is really history. I mean, that movie lit a fire in my soul that, I mean, it's been burning for 40 plus years. It's insane.
Well, I
Um,
watched it for the first time when I was 5 in the theater, but it was 8 years old when I got my first typewriter, which was inspired by seeing Rocky 2. And,
that's so cool.
I think that, and I've had some really inspirational teachers. I've had some great mentors in my career. I have
Mhm,
family members I look up to and have sought counsel from. But somehow this film, uh, talk about lighting a fire, you say,
mhm.
all these years later, now it's still a part of what you do now, even what you're trying to do in your career world. So we'll talk about that in a little bit. But Do your students know who Rocky is?
You know what? That's a good question. Some of them do, and when I find one that does, they instantly become like my best friend. I recruit them to be my partner in crime. Um, but it's unfortunately some of them don't, and I blame parenting for that.
That's funny. Someone asked me about that, if my son knows Rocky and who he is, and I said, yeah, pretty much. If you don't know Rocky or Star Wars, you're not his friend. So
Yeah, yeah,
those are
that's
the
pretty
those are
cool.
the key influences in film, I think. When you think about the pivotal time that your parents showed you that film, it's probably hard to imagine your life without them doing that. But what do you say to the parents who are watching, or the people who are really trying to help their kids find their way with all the challenges that you faced and have obviously overcome to become a teacher yourself? It's the film, you could show them the film, but what was it about the film that changed you so much? And what advice do you have to parents, even of your own students, when things are such a challenge for them?
Sure. For me personally, it was seeing a movie and a story told in such a beautiful way with such beautiful music composition, about a guy that just never gave up. That's something I just totally gravitated toward. And in a very weird way, and some people may not understand this, my father was like the living epitome of Rocky Balboa. He wasn't a boxer, but he was somebody that no matter how many times he got knocked down, he always got back up and found a way to win. And that's just how I was brought up. My dad, my mom, both the same mentality. Um, it's just how I was raised, with that never say die. No matter how many times you're going to get knocked down, guess what? You're going to get back up and you're going to win no matter what happens.
Well, and the thing
And
about that is that obviously they live that mentality because they thought to show you the film, right? I mean, it meant
bingo,
something to them. Some people see the
absolutely.
film and they don't get it. They're never going to get it. I can't help those people.
I truly feel
I
sorry
can't
for
help
people that
them.
don't see it. I know.
But there is a community of us, a very large community, in the millions, who knows
Hmm.
how many millions throughout the world, not just this country, throughout the world, who have been impacted by it. And so let's take a break. When we come back, let's start talking about the project you're working on that is literally your love letter, thank you letter, whatever it is to Sylvester Stallone and Rocky the character, and the people you've collected throughout the country to help you with this project. We'll be back in just a moment. We're talking with John Messina, and we'll be talking in a moment about Fight Story.
I believe that one person has the power to change the world by simply giving people hope. In 1976, an unknown actor named Sylvester Stallone wrote and starred in a low-budget film called Rocky. The film quickly ignited a fire in millions of hearts around the world and would eventually become one of the most successful franchises of all time. Almost 45 years later, I bring to you a series of stories dedicated to everyone that's ever been knocked down, but through it all, decided to rise to their feet. These are true stories about real people that overcame tremendous adversity, all because they were inspired by one person that made them believe the impossible was possible. Everyone has one last fight left in them. Everyone has a story to tell.
Hi, we're back. I have the privilege today of talking with John Messina. He's checking in with us from the East Coast. It's later for him. Thanks for working out the schedule for us to talk today. You are the creator of what is called Fight Story. And I'm going to let you tell our audience what Fight Story is, and then we'll get into more detail about how you how you created it and what stage it's in right now.
Excellent. So Fight Story is going to be a 3-part documentary series, which the first part is already out. We're streaming on Amazon Prime Video, and Tubi. And basically, the whole premise of the documentary is people that have been influenced and inspired by Sylvester Stallone's legendary Rocky films. And because of that inspiration, it's helped them through some really difficult times in their life. And we've brought on some incredible individuals to kind of share their journey and their emotional stories with us. And some of their stories are just absolutely incredible. You know, some of the things people have gone through and overcome and achieved because of a movie that started and a franchise that started 45 years ago. It's just truly amazing.
And almost didn't happen.
And
You know,
almost,
if the
and
studios
almost
had
didn't
had their
happen.
way, it wouldn't be what it is today. Thank goodness.
Absolutely true.
Thank
Yep.
goodness it is. So let's take a break. I'm going to not take a break, but let's show a clip right now of one of the stories, or an example of the first episode of Fight Story.
And he brought out a .38 revolver. He pointed it at me and he went, click.
I just didn't want it to live anymore.
We can't help our son.
We woke up that morning and the entire country was on fire.
He never broke me. Never broke me.
You keep pushing, maybe things can get better.
Again, Rocky came through for us. You know, again.
This is going to be big. And I said, I appreciate it. He goes, Sheriff, I'm telling you, it's going to be big.
So you've seen a clip now of Fight Story. John, people ask me a lot when I do the Don't Wait Project tour, how I find these stories. And so I ask you the same question. How did you find these stories that you've done so far? And we'll talk a little bit more about the stories that are still to come.
Sure. This is actually really funny. I paid $9.99 and put out one Facebook ad. I put it out on a Friday evening, I believe, and the ad was to run until Sunday evening. So Friday evening to Sunday. And basically it was kind of like a casting call for people that were interested in coming onto my documentary to tell their true life story and how they were inspired by Rocky and whatnot. And to tell their emotional story. I went to sleep Friday night, woke up Saturday morning, and I had like 125 emails.
Wow.
I went to sleep Saturday, woke up Sunday, and I had like 600 emails.
Wow.
By Monday, I had over 1,000. I couldn't believe it. Honestly, I was in complete shock and truly humbled by the interest, you know, in my small budget, you know, little John Messina production that I was putting together. Which is now kind of snowballing into something much bigger than I ever thought it would, which is great. It's an excellent problem to have. But
So
yeah,
the
that's
stories
kind of how
really,
it started.
then you have to kind of go through all those stories, and how do you,
Yeah.
it's so hard to choose and narrow down. And I imagine some of it has to do with geography because of your budget. You're limited to the people who can come out there to your side of the coast to get this done. But what was the most important criteria? Or did you have one or two kind of a checklist of what you were going by?
Yeah, I had a full checklist that I was referring to. Number one, the story had to be riveting, and it had to, touch me. It had to touch my soul and my heart. And if I felt it deep, I would take the next step. Then I would look at other things like, is the person, do they speak well? Are they understood when they speak? If we put somebody in front of a camera, no matter how good their story is, if we can't understand you, it's going to be a hard sell. So there was definitely a checklist and a criteria that I was referring to. And it was super tough. I literally went through every single one of those emails personally myself. And some of them were really hard to kind of turn down and go in another direction. Whereas others, it was very simple. And I knew right away, this is a fight story. Right away, I knew. And kind of the rest is history.
I love the name of it, Fight Story. It says everything you need to know. You don't even have to be a Rocky fan to love the title of it, although it helps. So when you set about, so then you've narrowed down who's participating in the first series. You're right now doing all the work for the second series.
Mhm.
And let's just talk first of all, that filming that first series, the first episode. What was it like to start something that was just an idea you had, a passion project with not a lot of money attached to it, to go through and just even be on set the first day, let alone go through the process of editing and what it takes to create a story that's ready for viewers?
Right. So you want to talk about being nervous, scared, nauseous.
Yeah.
I was all of that, rolled up in one. I was basically terrified because I had never directed, produced. I've acted, I've been around productions before, but I had never been the shot caller. And to be in that position, I felt like it was a big responsibility. There was a lot riding on it. I had people flying in from other states just to be a part of my series, which is, again, so humbling and such a great feeling. But to have something that's just a concept and just an idea in your head, start writing it down, and then slowly but surely over time, make that into something tangible. It's a process that I wish everybody could kind of experience it once in their life, because it is so rewarding. And I'm not talking monetarily, because that's not why I'm doing any of this. I don't care if I ever make a single dime. That really has nothing to do with it.
Yeah, I've said that about things about the books I've written or the different things that I've done, and some people don't believe me, but it's true.
Yeah.
I have other ways of earning a living, and
Right.
sometimes the things that I do that I can't be sure of, sometimes I do things I think I'm not going to make any money at, and then next thing you know, that's my bread and butter for the year, right? So really, I think when it comes from a place of passion and that dedication and true storytelling, the gift of storytelling, and whether it's you're on the receiving end or you're on the giving end or you're both, because you're part of the production and making this happen, whatever that production is, whether it's words, film, whatever it is. I think that's really the beauty of it, and that comes through in the work that you do, no doubt about it.
Thank you so much for saying that. I
Well, let's
appreciate
take a
it.
break. I have a fun little announcement, but I'll let you share it when we come back. We're talking with John Messina. If you haven't watched it yet, it's called Fight Story. The first episode is streaming on Amazon right now. You can watch it as soon as you finish watching this show. We'll be back in just a moment. We are back talking not all things Rocky, mostly inspiration and storytelling. We are here with the creator of Fight Story, John Messina. I'm going to be making another trip back to Philadelphia.
Yes, you are.
I'm honored. I think you'd said you found my story when I was on the podcast, The Rocky Files.
That's how I discovered you. Yeah.
Well, I found out about you through some of our mutual Rocky and Sylvester Stallone fan friends. And, I've watched the first episode. It's beautifully done. It was really important to me to watch that before I said yes to anything, right? Because we don't know what that's going to look like, but I'm excited to participate, and I'm just honored that you've asked me to share my story.
And we are equally as honored to have you.
Yeah.
I love the story.
Well, tell me a little bit about what I can expect, just in terms, and this would be an opportunity to maybe talk about the little bit behind the scenes and how you go about putting these stories together.
What should you expect? So what's going to happen as we get closer to our big date, you'll be sent out a full checklist of kind of, I don't want to say questions, but bullet points that you're going to touch upon while you're speaking. And the biggest thing, and I'm going to say this to you, but I really meant to say it to the whole group when I got you guys all in Philadelphia. You're going to be a part of the third and final episode of Fight Story. So for me, it'll be my final time going to the Philly steps, which is going to be very emotional for me, with the Fight Story crew. But we're kind of finishing up the series, so it's got to be like a serious home run. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And we got to lay it all on the line, wear our heart on our sleeve, and just really let it go. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I went to the Rocky Steps when I was on tour. And when I got there, I was so overcome with emotion. I had no intentions of walking the stairs that day. It was just a
Mhm.
scheduling thing, and there were other things we were doing. And I don't know, maybe I should have. But I also feel okay that I stuck to coming back on that Friday. I saw them for the first time on Wednesday. Just walking up to them from the parking lot was just, I was overcome. And there were people there all from all over the world that day. And there are every day. They come from
Mhm.
all over and there's people managing the traffic of people parking their cars in the front and having to keep on moving and getting tickets. And it's a whole thing. It's a spectacle, right? It's a whole thing.
Sure.
So get to go back and really just have the whole weekend be about taking that in when I'm not working, traveling 2 cities every 2 days. Thank you for that gift of my getting to go back and do that, because I think that there are a lot of people who followed the tour or who follow your story and have never been and may never go.
Yeah.
And I always
that
think,
is
well,
true.
I'm going for them too.
That's awesome. That is so cool. Yeah, I can't wait to have you. It's going to be great.
So I think it's kind of like asking who's your favorite kid, but is there a story that sticks out in your mind, or did you want to share maybe the first story you chose? How about that? That would be fair for you to say the first story you chose without saying
Story.
it's your favorite.
That's a really good question. I don't know if I know who the first story is that I chose.
What's the first one that comes to your mind?
Sean McFadden comes to mind first because I know he was he's in the first three, I know for sure. But his pops out to him. He may have been the first one.
What's
He
a
might
little
have
bit
been.
about his story? We just have 2
So
minutes left.
sure. Sean is a master's level boxer, which means I believe he's over 40 years old and he still competes as a boxer. He had a very rough childhood, very, very rough. His step grandfather brutally abused him, unfortunately, as a young boy. And he kind of tells his story in such a way. It's just, he's got an unbelievable presence, and he's got these crystal blue eyes. When he looks at you, it just goes right into your soul. But I don't want to give too much away because I do want people to watch it. But it's just an unbelievable story. And his link to Sly himself is truly amazing. I think it's so cool.
Well, it stands out. That one stands out to me. I've watched that first. As I said, I watched the first episode, and it stands out to me. Well, I thank you so much for coming on the show again, accommodating the East Coast West Coast schedule we were working with, and I got my ticket, so
Yay.
I'll be in Philadelphia, ready to give it my all for sure.
There you go. Awesome. We can't wait to have you. It's going
All
to be
right.
great.
John Messina Fight Story. You can watch it right now on Amazon. Now that you're done watching this show, go watch that.